Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Carlton D'Souza. This is Million Opinions, and in today's episode, we are going to speak about football coaching. And with me, I have a colleague, and I'd like to call him my friend, Callum Smith, otherwise famously known as Coach Musa, from an academy, a very well-known academy in the UAE, who's graced us to share his experience and his ideologies. So, Musa,
Thank you.
welcome to Million Opinions.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, please let us know a quick, an elevator pitch of your journey so far.
Yeah, I mean, originally from the UK, born and raised there. A vast amount of experience through the UK, also in Europe, in Holland, and then now in the UAE, in Dubai. Football has been my life from a child, as young as I can remember. Runs in the family, and yeah, I guess as with any other child, you start playing football, watching football, and eventually now, obviously, I'm coaching football. So that's kind of the synopsis of my situation within football.
Do you still play professionally or semi-professionally?
No, I think I play to enjoy. I'm a very competitive person and also ambitious. So I feel like I did set kind of a benchmark for myself. And I guess not everyone does that. But for me, if I don't reach a certain level at a certain time, I feel like maybe it's time to step back and focus on other things. Because obviously football is one thing and life is another. So it's kind of just to strike the balance between the both. So yeah, nothing professionally, but obviously coaching quite a good level. So, alhamdulillah.
So you went into coaching because that's something that you love to do, and you also would want to train the next generation. So what age group do you specialize in?
So across my coaching career, I've coached anywhere between the ages of 3, so very early, all the way up to 16, 17 years old. But between that, this season, I'm with under 7s, under 8s, under 14s, and under 16s. So quite a broad range of age groups.
So can you take us through what goes on as a coach, in your mind as a coach,
Yeah.
with the youngest age group, say for 3-year-olds?
Yeah, I mean, at 3 years old, there's very little that you can teach them about the tactics of football, and I guess the structure of the game. It's more about getting them to engage with the concept of the ball, relationship with the ball, and obviously there's a very specific way to do this with that age. The concepts that I use personally are not concepts that I would use with, say, for instance, a 14, 15, 16-year-old. It's about engaging with them in a way that they would understand, and probably a less pressured environment, of course. They're still looking to enjoy, and for me it's about sending them home with a smile on their face, and obviously giving them an environment which they can enjoy playing with the football, touching the football in all aspects, because it's a very cognitive experience at that age. It's about building their coordination, their cognitive structure, rather than their, let's say, their competitive, their mental, emotional structure. It comes at a later time. So
So let me ask you, this is a 2-part question. So until what age do you use this approach wherein it's more fun-based, and you give them freedom to learn more about the movement of the ball? And if anyone's looking at your session, how would an outsider see, or maybe break it down and give us an example of another coach who would want to train a 3 to 5-year-old? What would they approach the session, or what pointers do they do?
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very specific. So from the outside in, I wouldn't class it as much of a training session. It's more of an experience. How I usually approach it is to create concepts around the session that are not necessarily related to football, but the skills themselves and the actions themselves are related to football. For instance, a child at 3 years old, 4 years old, they might be into specific things that are not related to football. How can we implement that and put that into a session where they can engage with it? Because the attention span of a child at 3 and 4 years old is very little. So you have to be adaptable to coach those ages. You also have to have a personality, because kids at that age, they don't want discipline. They want to be free. They want to express themselves. And football is a sport that you should be creative. You should be able to express yourself in many different aspects. So it's less about discipline and it's more about allowing them the freedom to explore in an unguided way at that age, but also with a certain amount of structure as to how to approach that. So I would say that would be the foundation of that age group.
And from the younger children to the older ones, say teens?
Yeah, so as you get older, obviously different structures come into play. I would say at the start it's more cognitive, coordinative. Then it goes into, I would say, from 6 to 7, it goes into a socio-affective structure, taking the game from, let's say, an individual sport to a collective sport. And that's kind of a stage in their growth that is difficult sometimes, because football for many kids, even at 16, 17 years old, is still an individual sport. It's 1v1s 11 times across the pitch. But the way that I coach and my idea of the game is to balance the creativity, the freedom with a collective intention and a team game rather than an individual one. So yeah, I guess as you go into like 6 and 7, it becomes more of a socio-affective collective structure, and then emotional and a mental structure as you become more competitive. So I would say around 13 to 14, the kids understand the game quite well. And in some respects, I've noticed in different situations in my coaching career, kids can have that competitive spirit at a very young age. For instance, I have a team at the moment, and they're under 8s, and their competitive structure is huge. But I, as a coach, I have to define whether it's important for me to focus on that, or is it important for me to focus on different aspects and allow that to naturally gravitate as they grow older, and not put pressure on them to compete. So it's different. I think scientifically you have obviously the foundation of what scientists and people of education talk about within those ages, but also as coaches, it's down to us to kind of decide what the environment is in a real time. So yeah.
What do you see the children struggle with at different age groups? For the youngest ones, what do they struggle with?
Discipline.
Of course, structure.
Discipline.
Yes.
Because for you to get let's say a 5 or 6 year old to listen for an hour and a half, to understand the concepts that you're giving to them, the context of the game, it takes a lot of attention. Whereas as you get older, it's about the challenge of the personality. Teenagers are going to be teenagers, so maybe they want to be more individual. They want to be, they want to have their own way of doing things. So I would say as you get older, it becomes more of a outside of the pitch challenge as to their attitude, their direction off the field that's going to relate to what they do on the field. So there's different challenges in different age groups. And I think that goes for all players and all coaches. So yeah, it's there's not a one size fits all answer to that. So yeah.
How do you manage beginners who are older? So if they are probably, say, a 7-year-old joining in under 9s, U9s, like 7 to 9, that age group,
Yeah.
but has not played football before, as compared to the group that have been playing football for a very long time. How do they manage, or how do they get to be a part of the team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously football is a game for all. That's why they call it the beautiful game. You can play it whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced. All across the world, you see players starting at different levels all the time. What I would say from my position would be the relationship with the ball and the amount of time that a player spends with the ball is the kind of the level that you will see that will come out of them. So a player that is 7 and 8 years old that's just starting the game is perfectly normal. I know nowadays people see Lamine Yamal starting at 16 in the first team and they feel like their child is going to be that next player. That's like an exception to the rule. And I know a lot of parents put a lot of pressure on their kids to perform at that age. But the reality is that a lot of kids, they enjoy the game. They should enjoy the game without pressure up until 9, 10, 11, even 14 years old. But obviously the game changes and the environment changes also. So I would say that through the younger years, it's about how much time they spend with the ball, rather than sending them into a session and expecting in 1 hour they're going to learn everything about football, because essentially it's a coordinative sport. So coordination is important, and that connection with the ball. That's why a lot of our training and a lot of my training is based around time with the ball. Could be technical, and obviously as it gets older it becomes a lot more tactical also. So yeah.
So if I'm a parent asking you, I want my child to be a professional footballer, what would your answer be to me?
Hard work without pressure from external influences. Hard work from the player and ambition. I think it takes ambition, dedication, commitment. And even with those things, there's no guarantee that your child's going to be a professional player. There's so many players, there's so many individuals that spend their whole life training and still don't make it. I think education is so important, and that's why for me when I talk about football, it's more about building a human being as much as it is about building a football player, because the concepts and the discipline and the values and the ideas that we promote in football, we want to see them in real life. Because if football doesn't work out, which is a real idea for many kids, I would say the majority of players that are playing, they still need to go into the world with a set of values that they can take from the sport. So yeah, I think we put a lot of emphasis on players being professional, but I think it's about commitment, it's about opportunities, and also being able to push yourself and dedicate yourself to the things that happen on the pitch and off the pitch as well. So, yeah.
But as a parent who wants a child to be a professional, do I suck up the fun out of it for the child? Do you think that's the right way? Because it was my dream to be a professional footballer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't get to do that, but I'm going to support my daughters. Yeah, I want them to be. But what if they don't want to?
Yeah, I mean,
that's the thing, but most of the parents don't see. You see, they put so much pressure on their child. And the funny thing is, Musa, they think that, you know what, I'm supporting my child to play. But becoming a professional footballer isn't playing anymore.
Yeah, I think when you talk about professional, you talk about it's a job. It's something that is a day-to-day thing. It's a commitment, it's a dedication, it's a lifestyle. And essentially what you're doing from a young age is putting that child in a box. It's either football or it's nothing. And I think it's very important for parents to allow their children to engage with a lot of different sports, football being one of them. But I think active lifestyle is obviously something that should be promoted through all kids, to give them a healthy lifestyle. But a child that likes football might not like tennis, and a child that likes tennis might not like football. And a lot of these sports, they connect in a way that they're all coordinative. A lot of the skills that you're going to learn in each of these sports is going to help each other. So you might raise a child that's playing tennis for 7 or 8 years, and at 16, 17, they want to play football. And they have the tools to do that because they've worked on those coordinative aspects. They also have the competitive structure, the mental structure to play in a competitive sport. And some people start at that age, transitioning into the football rather than being born into it, so to speak, by their parents. So I think as parents, we need to let them engage with things that they're passionate about, that they engage with naturally, and support that. I think forcing a child or forcing a player into a pathway that maybe they're not passionate about is going to end up in, like I said, a teenager maybe resenting the sport. A teenager maybe thinking that it's not really for me, so I'm not going to put in the effort. And again, this is a thing that footballers, we're talking a span of 30 years, 20, 25 years. So it's a commitment, it's a lifestyle. So I would say that allow them to explore what they're passionate about is the most key thing.
How do you recognize potential in a player?
I think for me, it's about, again, the attitude of the player. Are they enjoying the game? Are they passionate about learning? Are they asking questions? Are they open to information? Are they implementing that information technically, tactically, depending on what age we're talking about? Are they open to exploring different avenues of learning? And when we talk about coaching, you have two aspects. You have an unguided approach, which is where the player explores for themselves and they create solutions for problems on the pitch or on the training ground on themselves. Or they have a guided approach where the coach is giving specific instructions and looking for specific outcomes. So I think both of those avenues of learning are very important. But I think the potential really comes from the player's ambition to want to improve. So that can come at any stage. And it's not always coordinative because, as we both know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So it's not always about your talent. It's about what you're willing to put in and the hours you're willing to put into your craft. So it's very important.
The core foundation every footballer must have in the game should be?
Technically or just generally?
Technically.
Technically, for me, it's about perception, understanding the environment, depending on the position that they play and what age they are. Technically, we're looking at passing, dribbling, recovery moment, what they're doing without the ball just as much as what they're doing with the ball. Their ambition to want to compete, their ambition to adapt and to be flexible, because the game is always changing. A 90-minute game of football is different in every single second. Different things are happening. The context changes every single second. And it's not just about you, it's about another 10 players around you. So I think in that respect, it's a unique experience for the player to go through. So the process is different for every player.
The frequently asked questions you get from parents that you'd want to address on the show.
How long is it going to take for my kid to be at a top level? I think that's if anybody gives you that answer, then they're lying to you. For me, I think there's not a one-way thing. Otherwise, we would have hundreds of thousands of professional footballers. We would have academies that will guarantee you space in the first team. I think when you watch football, when you're passionate about the game, you always want to elevate to the top level. And I think to put a label on their child's future of being a professional footballer is not realistic. And that's why I go back to their life outside of the game. What are they getting from the game? Because it's not just about we're playing football to be professional footballers. We're playing football to learn discipline. We're playing football to learn values. We're playing football to connect people. We're playing football to change people's lives and the way that they see things. For me, it's not just a sport. It's a tunnel of many different aspects that can allow a human being to explore the world in ways that they would never explore it, and to connect with people that maybe they never would have connected with before. So that's just as important for me as it is to become a professional.
Have you trained anyone who's on the pathway to being a professional?
I mean, professional in the way of youth. We've had one or two players. I won't say names, but we've had one or two players that have elevated through the game, and I wouldn't say on the way, but the how could I say it? Their position at the moment is a positive position, but of course there's a long way to go. We've trained players. I've personally trained players that are playing in the UK and good levels, also in the UAE here in decent levels. So yeah, I would say there's one or two.
The difference between the pathways back in the UK and the UAE?
It's so different, because the UK is not a pay-to-play structure at all. The UK football is, let's say, a free sport. Parents don't have to invest such a big amount of financial increment into their child for them to have the experience. But also the environment is very different. They're not playing on beautiful pitches. They're playing on a Saturday morning with mud and rain, and it's cold. And so the pathway from there is like we have a grassroots system that is, let's say, it's like a tradition. It's a culture in the UK for a family of four to take their child, their 3 children, to the football on a Saturday and create an experience for them to enjoy the game. And then from there you would have scouts that would go and watch those games, and then take them for trials, and then the trial maybe is a 6-week trial if they get selected from the trial day. And then they would, from the 6-week trial, they would kind of assess the level of the player, the attitude of the player, and then from there would probably join the academy or not. And then obviously once you're in an academy, that's a whole different pathway. There's different stages of scholarships, and for you to get to the first team, there's a huge journey to take. So it's not about you join the academy and then you're in and the job's done. There's a huge process that goes behind becoming a football player in the UK. But obviously the structure is there because it's been around for a long time, and there's a culture around it. I think in the UAE, it's still growing. There's a lot of positive steps here, and I see a lot of growth in the region since I've been here, which has been amazing. But the pathway here is very different because you have private academies that parents have to pay to play. And then maybe if you're good enough, you get a scholarship within that. You're able to play for a club, a local club, and an academy at the same time, which is not necessarily the case in the UK. And then obviously you go into the top divisions in the Pro League here in the UAE. So yeah, the pathways are very different, I would say. Here is obviously the environment is different. I think for you to have a supreme, beautiful pitch, 5-6 years old to play on, is a very special thing. And a lot of the kids that grow up here and are born here, they don't realize how lucky they are to have these facilities to play on and to train on. And people all around the world would love to have that, so they have a great foundation for the growth of the sport, and the structure as well. But I think the pathway is something that still needs to be worked towards, and I think the standard of football is increasing, so I think that would follow also.
Your idea of promoting healthy football culture in the UAE?
I think it's about connecting people. Healthy football is about competition, of course. It's about ambition. Football is a game that is competitive. I think for you to take that away from the game is something that I wouldn't recommend or promote, especially as you get to the older age groups. But also for people to understand that outside of the game, once the whistle blows, we should respect each other. I think respect as a value through the game is also very important. I think those things that I spoke about earlier with regards to the human beings that are playing within the game, and the values that you see within it, within the matches, are very important. So I think, I think it's a game that I think individuals as players, we have to connect each other. And what does the beautiful game mean? It means freedom to play, respect for each other, to build on an experience and to create an atmosphere. And I think that's where parents would come in. I think not to create pressure for them, but to create an atmosphere where they're cheering for their children. They're also trying to implement those values that the coach is trying to promote to that child. Whether it's maybe they want to talk to the ref a bit too much, and we're trying to promote them maybe to respect that structure of the game. And I think those things are very important for the game of football. So, yeah.
Your advice to the child who's dreaming of becoming a professional footballer?
I think be ambitious. I don't think it's a bad thing to dream big. I think we should promote kids to have the biggest dreams in the world. To become a professional footballer, they need to have the information of what it takes. I think anyone that steps onto the pitch wants to be a professional footballer. They enjoy the game. It's something that's positive. For some, it's a hobby, and for many, obviously, the hobby turns into a profession. But I think not many understand the process and maybe the sacrifices that you have to take to become a professional footballer. So I think my advice for anyone that wants to become a player on a top level is understand the process, understand what it takes, not just on the field, but off the field, because it's a lifestyle. It's not just a game. And I think once you have that, it's about being ambitious, having a dedication, being committed, understanding the routine, understanding your own body. Because there's many footballers and many children that will overload their body to play 7 times a week without rest, without recovery, and that will have a bad effect on them in the long run. So I think obviously understanding the biological makeup of a human being and of yourself is very important also, as well as dietary information too. So eating well, sleeping well, recovering well, playing well, all key things of the sport. So yeah.
The hardest job in the world is being a parent, because it doesn't come with any manual, and we try to do our best.
Mm-hmm.
But as a football coach, what advice do you have for a parent to support their kids in their journey, either professionally or just recreational?
I think don't focus too much on the negatives. I mean, every child has bad moments and good moments in the game. I think to support a child is to give them a space to express themselves in an honest way. So many parents will experience a loss, and the child comes and they're angry with their teammates, or they're angry with their coach that they got subbed off the pitch, or they're angry that they didn't take the free kick. Maybe for a parent, it's more about having them give an understanding to the child to understand, okay, what was it that you could have done better? Giving them a space to share information, and maybe not to support the negative connotations that maybe their child comes home with, because then that child will go into the next training session, the next match, with an idea that those negative connotations are right, and they were reinforced by their parents, and that brings an attitude to the pitch that maybe doesn't emphasize the learning of the child. It maybe holds them back in a way. So I think as parents, just to emphasize the positive things that they've done in the game. Maybe they've done 3 or 4 great passes in the game. Can we emphasize that more, rather than, hey, you didn't score 2 goals today, why didn't you score? And I see this a lot with parents, that they focus a lot on, let's say, outcomes of the game, but we're talking about outcomes of a process. So it's not about one match, it's about a period of time, maybe a season, maybe 2 seasons, how they're progressing and developing, because developing is not a 90-minute thing. And I think from one week to the next, if they got 1 assist last week, and they come onto the pitch in 2-3 weeks time, and they made 2 or 3 assists in that game, that's a development for me, and that's something that we should emphasize, rather than you got 1 assist but you didn't score a goal. So I think just emphasizing those details is important as parents.
Would you be happy to assist or guide either budding footballers or parents if they need any kind of assistance, Musa?
Of course, I think I'm assisting parents and kids every day in my role as a coach. I think anything that I can do to help. I think we also need to connect more with our players. For me, I don't see my role as just football. I think I need to understand the process of a child, the mental structure, their emotional structure. How do they perceive things? What is it that motivates that child? I think that's very important. And I think the most successful things about my role as a coach is when I connect with parents to understand that child more. And they also connect with me, because sometimes the information that they want their child to receive, they struggle to at school in a more structured environment, and maybe they're more open and adapt to receiving that information from a coach on the football pitch. So I think us all connecting in a way to push the child in a positive direction is something that we should do more of. So I'm always happy to elevate a mindset, elevate a environment, and elevate positivity within the football game and for the next generation. So that's something that I'm passionate about.
If anyone needs any kind of assistance and you want to reach out to Coach Musa, I will put his details on the description below. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your experience, mate. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you. You too. Take care.